You click on a head, he instantly kills someone. It's like, whoa!
How many games before that did that, you know?
Valve doesn't always have the best interest for the players.
It's just low-hanging fruit.
How much is it the game changing and how much is it me changing?
What's more important than the things you choose to do with your
idle time?
Hi, welcome to Idle Time, a Team Fortress 2 podcast, co-hosted by yours truly alongside Richter Overtime and Casual. Gentlemen, who would like to go first to introduce themselves and say a little bit about yourself? What do you do? Richter, you go first. I'll say Richter first. Richter, what do you do, man?
Okay. Well, I like to make junk for little kids is my favorite thing to do. I like to talk about the scary things that happen on the internet. There's quite a lot of them. But I kind of have like this sort of deep side nobody knows about, which is that I actually really like Team Fortress 2 a lot. So that's sort of my pitch I think I could give.
Wonderful. And
I spat out my water. you got me off guard like mid-sip, and I lost it a little bit. Oh, God.
I'll chime in. Yeah.
You gotta follow up on that one. Can you make me spit my drink out?
I don't know if I can do it like Richter, but I'm Casual, also known as Casual TF2. And quintessentially, I'm just a big TF2 lover. I started playing 13 years ago or so, and it's just been a kind of curveball in the trajectory of my life. And I didn't expect it would take up such a large portion of my life continuously, but sort of through being embedded in the culture.
I don't mean to interrupt, but you could maybe make an alternate title for this podcast. I think we're sort of all prisoners of Team Fortress 2. Like, we're just going to be here forever.
You can't escape. It's
once you're here forever. Yeah. Absolutely. No, I don't think any of us expected that too. Like when we first started playing this game, we did not think over a decade later we would all still be here and have this game still be such an impactful part of our lives. Like that just there's just no way you could have predicted that at all.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was 5, so I was probably thinking about like boogers and
dude,
that's a whole different experience though, like being not sentient yet and starting out with TF2. I can't imagine. That was like my friend's little brother.
Hold on. Oh, go on.
Who was like, he couldn't speak, he was nonverbal, but he was like playing Pyro on Dust Bowl, and I just wondered what is going to end up with this guy. Like, what's his fate? But he turned out fine, so just like you, right?
So Zesty, you're the oldest on the panel, right? And I'm the youngest?
Yeah, seniority, I am definitely the oldest. I'm at a whopping 30 years old, yeah.
Woo!
But I've not been playing the game longest. That award goes to you, Richter.
Somehow, yeah, I'm the youngest on the panel, and I think I have the oldest Merc badge. Actually, do you have a Primeval Warrior? I heard that before Casual. I heard that.
No, I'm January 2012, so I have a mercenary badge.
Oh, okay. So you're like a noober type guy.
I'm a noob, bro. That's how it felt getting into it. I was like, dude, what did I miss?
See, I actually did my research before we started. I looked at both of your Steam profiles. You both started in 2012. So what's up with this stupid ass podcast?
Whoa, no. Listen, I started in 2010, bucko. That's when I started playing the game on a fairly regular basis. This Steam account, however, started playing TF2 in 2012. Picked it up in high school. I was introduced to the game from the fucking Meet the Team videos. And the first time I played it was at my buddy's house on the Orange Box. I'm like, man, this is fucking cool. And then I got I got a crap top, and I played TF2 on it for I just no-lifed sniper, ironically, right? No-life sniper for 100 hours on this shitty laptop, because it's the easiest class to pick up. You click on a head. It's not that hard to understand,
That's debatable, though, the easiest class to do in a bad setup. I think that like describes your personality, that you went for sniper and not engineer or medic or pyro,
I don't know, it's like you click on a head, he instantly kills someone. It's like, whoa, my high school brain loved it. And then I got my first PC build in 2012, and that's when I made my second Steam account.
And so what do you guys think was the thing the turning point for you where you kind of realized like, oh, this TF2 thing is different? Because I assume you guys are from backgrounds of playing different video games over the years, right? But then at what point do you kind of like,
I don't know. I don't know if that's accurate for me. I was kind of 5, and it was like basically the first thing I played.
Was it literally the first game you ever played?
It was either Team Fortress 2 or Garry's Mod. I couldn't tell you. I was.
Oh, man.
I think actually the first time I played it, I would. And this is gonna sound so like I'm just bullshitting, but like somebody go dig up my Steam profile. They'll be able to verify this.
First time I played, I got a godlike kill streak.
No, that's not accurate. But really, what really happened is I had an older brother who played all the Source games back then, and he would let me play on his account, and I would go on Gmod and I'd go on TF2 and I would like fuck with his settings, and he would get so mad. Like I would fucking equip dumb shit on his engineer. And so I think for my 5th birthday, he my family bought me like a Steam account with TF2 and Gmod just so I could log onto that and play on there and not fuck up anybody else's
that's
experience.
adorable.
So I was playing this before I would have ever been able to notice that the game actually has any great qualities. It was just happened to be the first one.
But when did you? Surely there was some moment of growing up, and you go, "Oh yeah, you know those games from childhood and whatnot." Surely there was some sort of return full circle moment where you're like, "Wait, that first game I was into."
I think actually really it was almost the opposite. I remember when it started getting bad, honestly, when I started like not really enjoying it anymore. I remembered
what age?
Yeah, I remember Gunmetal.
That's a very good point, yeah.
Well, I actually went through my Steam screenshots the other day, and I think the first time I ever launched that mod, what is it, TF2 Classic. I don't know why I'm pretending I don't know what TF2 Classic is called, but it did slip my mind. The first time I launched that was in 2015. So I think in 2015 I was starting to feel like this feels really, really different and weird to me. And I was and so I was going to look for the community experiences, what else was out there. So around 2015, it was like this game is starting to feel really different. I don't know that I really recognize it anymore.
You kind of went in a different direction for a bit.
Yeah.
No, for me, it was, I had a similar situation where I didn't really start paying that much attention to like how the game was or what it was until the situation with the game started getting worse. And that for me was, of course, 2016 with fucking Meet Your Match. You know, beforehand, you know, you pinpoint the major errors of the game where you had like a significant shift in how Valve was treating it. And when the whole gunmetal tough break thing, that was a huge turning point. And then a little bit beforehand, you had the end of the line update, which put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But for me, I didn't really care that much about end of the line because I wasn't really like that involved in, say, the community so much. I just played the game a lot. And so I didn't really have my finger on the pulse of what like other people were saying. I'm like, oh, there's like a duck. I'm not going to buy this shit. And I just kept playing the game anyways. And then when Gunmetal and Tough Break came out, I'm like, oh, cool, there's like weapon skins now. I like these. Like, I admit I was a slop consumer back then with the skins. Like, oh, I love this shit. So I just got more immersed in the game, and the game had contracts, so it breathed a lot of new life into the game for me. And then Meet Your Match came out. And then I couldn't play the game for like 6 months. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I really started paying attention to the game and more so what people were saying about it. It's like, oh, all right. There's a problem here.
Now, I know a lot of Zesty's viewers, your ears are going to kind of perk up at the mention of Meet Your Match. I think it's a good opportunity to kind of interject. I think, you know, that casual is not like us, bro. Like the Kendrick Lamar song. He's different. You had a podcast with...
No, not.
Yeah, you had like a podcast with Mr. Slyn at one point. You have a...
that name...
Zesty is sort of anti-compy, but you have street cred in the comp community. You've been around for a while, right?
You're already saying something
I would love to hear more about that.
You're already saying something volatile.
We don't have to defame Zesty here.
I'm not anti-compy.
You generally have been more hot, whatever.
And you know, it's
you know
okay.
I want to hear more about your. I want to hear more about your past casual. 'Cause a lot of people watching this. I mean, I have an audience and a big following, sort of. Zesty has like a very, very big, passionate
I'm
audience,
ultra
a lot
niche.
of intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah, you're very niche. You do esoteric stuff. It's not to say people don't know you. I'm sure most people watching probably know your Badwater video that's got like 1 million views or whatever. But I don't think people know your roots as much. And I would like to give you an opportunity to sort of explain them.
Tell us the tale.
I'd love to, yeah, because...
Spin us a yarn, laddie.
Oh, ooh, good accent there. I'm going to say the first 3 years of TF2 for me is still like 90% of my TF2 brain. Like the memory that I've allocated to it is what happened in 2012, 13, 14, early bit of 2015. And I am not a gamer. And I say that it almost becomes, it feels like a joke now saying it. But I mean to say that like I was literally not allowed to play video games growing up. And
really?
So, yeah, completely not allowed. So,
wow.
I started playing TF2 like in secret when I was about 14, high school age, and it was really just because my friend, who was a total gaming aficionado, he kind of had nudged my shoulder like, "Hey, this thing's free. Like, it's really easy to install and download. Like, see if you can try it." And of course, I was curious about video games throughout my whole childhood. Like, obviously, you can't go through school and avoid video games. Like, all the boys are into RuneScape and Call of Duty, and you know, you go hang out, you go to a sleepover, everyone's playing Smash Melee, and I don't even know how to use a controller, and I'm just getting stomped. But at the same time, it's alluring and interesting because I wasn't allowed to do it, right? And so I think TF2 kind of happened at this just perfect time and place where I was like a little old enough. I had my own computer, so I could kind of do it in secret. And I also think it just had the right quality of the game. It wasn't too kind of serious and shootery. Like I was pulled in somehow. My parents were very pro art, but they were very anti video games. And so maybe in a way, like I didn't think this at the moment, but looking back, I kind of think TF2 was like, it kind of proved to me like, no, wait, games are beautiful, like, or they can be beautiful.
There's substance here.
Yeah, like in the same way that pro art sentiment had been ingrained in me from my upbringing, I felt like no, this game is still, you know, it's substantive, like you said. It's beautiful in its own way. So anyway, it started from there with my friend really initiating me into it, and then I had, you know, there was the personal kind of like almost spiritual relationship with the game that would foster over all these years. But then there was really like on the side, this social cultural element to it that I had no idea I was getting into. And definitely a lot of that started with YouTube. I mean, literally just the people who were making TF2 YouTube videos in 2012, like obviously Star, Germa, Shibby, those kind of people.
Yeah.
But even the type of more, I would say, kind of creative content people would make, like even I'm going to say Stabby as somebody who kind of was early on in, you know, having cool music, and just like, it felt like watching his gameplay was like a journey. And it was, you know, I'm sure everybody who's seen a Stabby video has had a moment where they're like, shoot, this is kind of cool and transcendental somehow. And then also the jump montages and all this. And I think if you watched
those were huge, man. The jump, I fell in love with jump montages.
Yeah.
And like one of the biggest highlights for me, like you remember the Tip of the Hat streams back when that was the thing. They had like a whole jump section. Oh, it was so fun. They had like a big movie they'd make for it. It's awesome. Yeah, and awesome music, and like it's edited well and all that. So there's always been so many cool niches in TF2 like that. And then one of them too, naturally, is the competitive niche. And so I think of like back then I was watching Salamancer, Sal TV. If anybody remembers who that was. Yes.
That was my intro to competitive. And I think it was just because it was easy to find online. And then even there was a bit of like my initial friend who got into TF2. He actually, before I ever did, went and played like UGC Iron or whatever. And he would always tell me about the drama of it in school. He'd be like, oh, this guy did this, and this guy's trying to be the leader, and this guy's trying to perform a coup. And it was just kind of amusing to me.
Nothing ever changes.
Well, and hilariously, you'll love this detail too. He kind of got burnt by various, like he dated someone on the team. I mean, the whole thing was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he literally was like after one season, like, dude, I'm never playing TF2 anymore. Like this game wasn't meant to be competitive. Like he was so bitter. Like he had some rough personal experiences, which I had nothing to say about it. It was just interesting. But slowly I started to get more involved with competitive. And so I think like early on for me, a lot of the friends I made through TF2 were in that competitive niche. And even like a lot of my early audience for my YouTube videos, I've attended a bunch of the international LANs. Like I've met so many people through that community, but also just through TF2 at large. But I think that aspect of it appealed to me as like, wait, this is not just something I can do, you know, in my room at night alone listening to music, like playing TF2, but I can actually meet people through this.
Yeah, you bring up a very important point that's honestly a huge part of the game that's been missing for a long time now, is you had this entire in-person social aspect through LANs where you had all these big names and even smaller, like nobodies could all get together like, oh wow, we're all here playing the same game. All centered around competitive TF2, but like it really, regardless of where you stand or whether or not you like competitive TF2, it really did kind of like unite everybody. Like, oh no, these are actual other people that when we all love the same game. It is kind of sad to see that just completely absent nowadays.
Yeah,
like, I mean, you just basically get none of that anymore.
Yeah, and we did just have a great LAN in Denver, which was like kind of people are saying like, oh, this could be the last time it happened, where they had like an Australian team and a European team and a North American team. Because it has been on the decline and like COVID ruined a bunch of stuff. But I remember even the grieving of maybe 2015 or so when the ESEA LANs stopped happening, which was the biggest league for, you know, all those years I was playing originally. And there was a sense of like, dude, well, what's the point without the LANs? Because even if you didn't go to the LANs, it was like about the watching the streams and the drama and watching people's vlogs and the threads. And,
Those were fun.
In a way, it was very parasocial, like the involvement. But and I'll just say that too as my last thing, that like I'm not like a intrinsically super competitive person. Like that's not really what appeals to me about competitive TF2. But I think I just got the memo that like, oh, if I want to, do IRL stuff or meet more people or have more of this kind of social fabric to my experience with TF2, then if I follow this path, it's going to happen. And so I did that, but then, the years have trailed on. I had my own, maybe stepping away from TF2, getting back and, making some good videos here and there, but I don't really consider myself an active creator. I'm more like, I don't know, a denizen of the culture of TF2, I hope, and I love talking TF2 and meeting TF2 people just like right now.
A denizen of the culture of TF2. That's
I'm honored to be here, by the way. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming. I mean, your video, how I feel about TF2 is changing. To me, that is one of the most special TF2 videos that's like ever been made. That changed history.
That was my that was my first exposure to you, not your Badwater video, but that video, them like making the rounds. And I remember making a comment on it. I forget, it was something about how your comment on how line paint is in Team Fortress 2, your analogy of pissing on the rug in a house. And I commented on that video like, oh man, that was really funny. It like cracked me up.
Well, thank you.
With me, with the culture of TF2, I think what was really more interesting to me was the setting. I grew up obsessed with all the the Gmod videos and like, oh, who is this character on the side? Like, and a lot of it is I'm soured to it now, like seeing where the game getting handed to the community went.
Basically, are you saying like the content of the game kind of shifting from being made by the developers to like the fans, basically?
Well,
I mean, or no?
Sort of, yeah. But I don't like the idea that the fans are just as much authors as the people who made it themselves. And I feel like Team Fortress 2 took that path, and I think it suffered for it. Because
100%.
when I was growing up, looking at there were so many Gmod videos back then that are like set on like a baseball park in the TF2 universe. And it makes you think about like, oh, this world and this setting is such a deep well, and there's so much you can get from this. And I feel like in a lot of ways it did wind up wasted. And today it's like not really recognizable. So a lot of it for me is just chasing like, why doesn't this feel the same anymore? That's so much of what's led me through my TF2 embittered arc, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm in the same boat too, where for the first 6 years of myself playing the game, most of it was centered on playing on community servers, where I quickly fell into the social aspect, but on like complete opposite spectrum, where I only interacted with people online. And I would always hop into like the same 2 or 3 community servers. Most vivid memories myself playing on like a 24/7 Lakeside server, and I just lived there for years. And I met people, made good friends, and we'd rotate, play different games together. And then as more time went on, it kind of became more and more obvious, like, oh, Valve is really offloading a lot of what they're doing onto the people, right? And it's not something I paid too much attention to, but I kind of like noticed it and acknowledged it when, I think the big turning point for me was Invasion. And that was the first time I had heard of pretty crazy internal drama in the TF2 sphere of like things like breaking or people screwing things up. It's like, oh, no wonder this update kind of felt empty and lame. Because like when Robotic Boogaloo came out, I just ignored it. I didn't care. I kept playing the game. End of the Line came out, didn't really care about it, kept playing the game. But then Invasion was like, oh, this is the first thing that people really talked about more so, and from my memory in YouTube videos, and the first time I kind of like paid attention to Steam forums and whatnot. It's like, oh, okay, there's something to this, where Valve's not really paying that much attention anymore, has offloaded all the work to the community. And I think that's also why I hold the Gunmetal and Tough Break updates in such high regard, because that was like the last really big, meaty chunk of content that was entirely Valve created and entirely Valve unique.
It was an event, right? It was like an event. Yeah.
It was a big deal, right? Because it was like those 2 updates were really the last, like, this is something cool from Valve, before it just it devolved into crap. And then when Meet Your Match came out, I could no longer engage in the social aspect that I loved about the game so much. And I had met so many fun people, and then they just went away. And then for like 6 months, I just stopped playing the game, and then only came back once. I think the reason why I came back is I had a social group on Discord, and they all liked TF2, and I started making videos again, and we all just started meeting up and hanging out on like 24/7 high tower servers and things like that, or just playing together in general.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of night and day before and after Meet Your Match, because like before Meet Your Match was sort of also it's upsetting. This always has to circle in on and decay toward discussion about Meet Your Match.
Well,
But
I mean,
how much are we
if-
allowed to talk about Meet Your Match today?
Well, I mean,
is the question.
it's going to come up regardless. If you talk about any historical aspect of Team Fortress 2, it's unignorable. The most pivotal and monumental change this game experienced.
the
So you
9/11
can't-
of TF2, yeah.
You
Yeah.
literally cannot ignore it. It's just part of it. We're not gonna beat the dead horse in terms of the specifics, but it's gonna be referenced now and again. It's unavoidable.
the point I was going to make is it's sort of like before matchmaking, it was a game that was equivalent to like having a laugh with your friend in class, and you're there every day, he's there every day, you're there at the same time.
Yeah.
Whereas after Meet Your Match, it's sort of like you see him in the grocery store. It's not really, there's not time, there's no time. We're adults now, and there's not time. And it
Yeah.
just feels very different.
Yeah, well, I want to chime in that the really interesting thing to me about this kind of discussion too, and about having a strong relationship with TF2 for all of us for like, a decade plus. What's so cool about that is that you start to wonder like, okay, how much is it the game changing and how much is it me changing, right? Or a hybrid. And because I think most people who relate to this experience of like, oh yeah, I've been playing TF2 for 10 years or whatever, then they can also map the trajectory to like, oh yeah, when I started playing this game, I was, a kid, right? Or I was just getting into kind of having a mind, and then, I did all this stuff in my life, and TF2 has remained a constant, or it hasn't, it's ebbed in and out. And so I mean, Richter, for yourself, how much do you think that is maybe a piece of what you're also like dealing with when you look at this, like, how have things changed? How have they not been the same? Like, even if it's just 20%.
You're asking how much is it me just growing up?
Well, just that happening at the same time, like through all of this, you know what I mean? Or because the transition from childhood into adolescence into adulthood is no joke. I mean, it's I give a lot of respect to the power that has on our lives, or just how different those eras feel.
I don't think that's really a big part of the equation, because I watched it happen when I was a kid, and I was still sort of like blindly. I was like 12 or 13 when Meet Your Match came out, and like I was at the age where I was still getting like blind joy from video games. There wasn't a existential pit in my stomach yet. So I think with me, I like even today I look at Team Fortress 2 and the parts that were amazing to me when I was 8 are still there. Like the parts that were amazing to me when I was 8, I still look at them and they're still amazing to me. I still find this setting really great. I still find with a lot of media, it's sort of like there's two factors, and it's the entertainment value and the craftsmanship. And to me, what was there that I saw in Team Fortress 2 early on is still a wonderful balance of both of them. I really think it was the updates, to be honest. I don't think it is.
No,
I think
okay. I'm
maybe
not saying I'm not saying like, oh, it's really this. I just wanted you to give your own, because I haven't heard your perspective on that. I've heard a lot of your. I wonder too, like for Zesty, would you say that plays any component, kind of where you were in life and things shifting through that? Not to say like that explains your TF2 feelings, but I just mean like when you look back, how much has yourself changed in these last 8 or 9 years?
I mean, in terms of like just where I was in life, I mean, TF2 has always been something that I would approach at the end of my day and use to wind down and relax. 'Cause I started playing on a daily basis when I started college. I was 18 when I started playing TF2 on a daily basis, and it was something that I just immersed myself into at the end of my day every day, and probably playing when I shouldn't have been and should have been studying. But that explains why I got a C in chemistry my first year. But it was a constant, consistent source of fun and social engagement that brought me a lot of joy. And I kept being drawn to it more so than any other game because of the social aspect, where I could go in and I could just start talking, and other people would start talking with me, and we'd all just be talking about random shit. Similar things. We'd get into fun arguments, or like play dumb games together, or do even something as simple as coordinating and everyone running the bison. That's a very fond memory of mine, right? That's what made TF2 so special for me. And then as the years went on and I graduated, I got my first degree, I found myself with a lot less time. And that happened to coincide right when Meet Your Match came out. And it was just kind of like a perfect spell of like, okay, I have less time to play. The game's in a really shitty state. So I basically took off for half a year to focus on my studies. And then once I found myself with more time and I came back, then that's when I started focusing more on the quality of the game, the state of the game. And that was more of a prevalent thought in my mind. And because the social aspect was gone, the social aspect that I could get from both Valve and community servers was fucking destroyed. And so it's like, okay, I can't get this anymore. What happened? What's
is that when YouTube came in the picture for you?
So I actually started YouTube in 2012, believe it or not. That's when I started making videos. and they were just like fun, dumb videos. Like the first ones I made that were heavily TF2 centric, I'd watch Tag a lot, and his clip dumb videos were really funny. I'm like, okay, those are fun. I can do that too. And I mean, I would just play the game, you know, of an old, I barely remember the videos I make, but one I remember is I just copied Star's video of 1,000 market gardener kills, and I farmed.
Oh, nice.
Market gardener kills, and this is a bit of a shameful admission, but I got like 30 clips of really cool market gardener kills, and I didn't know about the existence of strange farming servers, so me and my friend sat in a fucking server for like 3 days, and I just farmed kills off of him for like 3 days.
Good,
so
bro. That's real.
So
Manual
I could get
farming?
to 1,000. Oh my god! You know, those are the videos that I would make. And I continued on that path for, when I started the channel I have now. But I think the really huge turning point was when was 2020 and 2021, when the cosmetics, like the number one thing that people see first when an update came out, is like, oh, these fucking blow. And then like it just kind of came to a head, and I just started tearing into the treatment of the game.
And would you consider yourself a visual person? Because I feel like you are kind of a spokesperson on this or that cosmetics, you know, in the modern age. Like, does it make sense?
Just know. I mean, I think I understand what you're getting at. I think I speak for a lot of people when I can look at something and go, that doesn't fit. Like, I'm not an artist. I'm not someone that can design a game or what have you. But I can look at an Aardvark skull or something in Team Fortress 2 or whatever the hell you want to, or whatever other game, and go, that probably doesn't fit in something as heavily stylized as this. That's kind of lame. Why is it here? Like, I think a lot of people can do that, and care or not, you don't care, or you do care, but a lot of us can just like question, like, what is this doing here? What is this? You know?
And would you say
that's more the person I am? Was
it pretty natural to becoming that figure in the community, like becoming the guy who talks about war paints and skins and all that? Okay,
no one else did.
Yeah.
So like, I think I was the first person that really leaned into the quality of the content being added. Like, at least I was the first person with a sizable audience that did so. A couple other people did here and there, but it was no one really noteworthy. Like, you can go back and look up videos of Robotic Boogaloo and End of the Line, and people going, "Oh, this fucking sucks." But like, no one with
right.
a voice.
Well, that's why I'm fascinated about it too, because I think it's kind of work that a lot of people would maybe agree with or disagree with at times. But like the agreeing just with the idea of there being an auditor, right? Of there being any kind of, you know,
quality
community,
control.
public,
Yeah.
exactly, quality control. But I think for most people, especially at that point, you know, people have been so burned by like, years and years of no quality control to just be like, oh, well, what am I going to do? Like, you know, yap about it, but you do. So bravo.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's just low hanging fruit. Anyone could have done it. I just was the first one that took the apple, right? Like, that was no one else, and still no one else does really. A couple people do, but like most people just, it's still. I don't know if it's taboo. Is it taboo? I don't know if you can call it taboo, but most people just avoid being critical of the content put in the game at all, and that's just been
it's because it's not good for networking. It's not good to be, trashing this guy's item, and then it turns out he knows this guy who knows Uncle Dane. Like, even
I don't think that's the reason, though. It might be for some.
It might be for some. Part of it, because it's if you want to be in a part of anything, you're going to meet people who work on Team Fortress 2, and in communities like Team Fortress 2, which are so small, it's going to be a really small group of people who are making the fan content for it. And even with this is not to blare or like throw shade at anybody, but like so many YouTubers, for example, they've got close relationships with people at Valve, like
or people that make content for the game, right?
It's not like they're compromised or something, but they've got connections at Valve, and it's not really in their interest to go, Jesus Christ, this update was fucking poop. That's not in their interest. It's gonna make their next meeting with whoever a little more awkward, or maybe it's going to mean that they can't go to this person, tap this person when they need thumbnail art or whatever,
So I agree. I think that's the case for some people, but I also think that most of them just don't really care. They approach TF2 as something that's fun for them, and they don't really think about it more deeply beyond that. And so when they see like the crappy Santa hat or something, they go, oh, whatever, and they just keep playing the game. They just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
Some people, the social aspect and what have you is certainly part of it. I mean, I can pinpoint basically any TF2 YouTuber since 2012 that has interacted or knows somebody that either knows someone at Valve, works at Valve, or makes content for the game in some capacity, right?
I also think before you, Zesty, there was not really a wide trove of people who understood deeply the way that items get into TF2. I think like people knew the workshop existed, but how many people really cared to boot up the workshop every day and vote on items and
I just did
cross-reference. Like a lot of the times it was sort of
it's not hard.
It's
that's the thing, man.
Want,
it's not
right?
hard to do. It's easy to find out this information. You Google it, you find it in 20 minutes, and you go, oh, that's how it works. It's like it's not hard to find.
That's the other edge of the sword, though, is that's not really supposed to be the player's job, and that's why the fundamental issue is just that Valve is Valve did some stupid shit and put
over and
over. Why was this game decided by the fans? And that's why, like what I said earlier about why did the fans become the author of Team Fortress 2 is something I don't understand. And the only real conclusion I ever am able to come up with is
Well, what do you mean when you say that?
It was a
that
profitable
you don't understand?
thing.
Yeah, okay, exactly. I was like, what do you mean you don't? I think.
Oh yeah, that's the only conclusion like a rational person can draw. Is like, well, they just didn't really care anymore. The people who were around left, or whatever. Either way, there was some power vacuum, and the idea that won out is, why don't we just make a lot of money by adding whatever people will buy? That's really the only conclusion. And you can find like Valve dev interviews where they say stuff that's, if you translate the corpo speak, that's like basically what they're saying.
No, yeah. I mean, I can cite the very famous Gabe Newell clip of like 10 times as much content is made by the community. We cannot keep up with them in this space. And so it's like, okay, we'll just tap into that for free. Well, not for free, but for a lot less money. And they basically just hand the creation of new content off to the player, and boom. The game is still under active development by no one other than themselves.
I think that's my vested interest in this is like the legacy of Team Fortress 2. Because I'm not for me, Team Fortress 2 is like one of the fingers on a fist. Like I'm really into all of the, the Source Engine and the Half-Life and Valve and Gary's Mod. Like I'm a bigger Gary's Mod fan than I am a Team Fortress 2 fan. Like I probably did find Team Fortress 2 through Gary's Mod, although I'm kind of digging back into memories from when I was 5, so I don't really know. But to me, it's a setting as a piece of a larger setting, and it's a piece of like Team Fortress 2 has a legacy, but it's also a part of, this generational run that Valve went on in the mid-2000s. And so that was important to me when I was growing up. I still think it's important that people remember how good these are so that people take the right lessons from them. And to me, it's getting harder to look at Team Fortress. Like, if you had to explain to like a Zoomer, like somebody who is like, I don't know, like 12 or something, like, why is Team Fortress 2 special? And you have to use the Team Fortress 2 that's available on Steam right now. It's going to be really hard. It's just going to look like a clusterfuck to them. And there was a time where it wasn't like that, and you could just point and be like, oh, look, this guy has like a really great design.
It's kind of like a beautiful
such an inspired
person
setting, right?
With bad makeup on, Like, bad clothes and everything, yeah.
Yeah, Richter, you're hitting on a larger overarching point here in that you're just pointing to a different time of game development in general, where there was a much greater focus on something with artistic integrity and style and real passion poured into it. And that's
going back to the
very
analogy
much gone.
of the Valve fist, right? Like Team Fortress 2, that is the prettiest finger. Like I love Half-Life 2, but if you stack up Team Fortress 2 next to Left 4 Dead, stack it up next to Half-Life, stack it up next to fucking Alien Swarm if you want. Team Fortress 2 blows all these other ones out of the water in terms of art and craftsmanship, in my opinion.
I mean, the only close second I can think of is Portal in terms of the uniqueness of the world and its style and what have you, but TF2 does definitely trump that in terms of, both of those things.
Well, I just think about how Team Fortress 2, it revolutionized what video games look like. Like, you look at games today, it's sort of... Casual, you should go ahead, because I know you have a lot to say on that topic.
I mean, a lot of my talking points are almost just many, many years recycled from things that my old friend used to tell me, the one who got me into TF2, like when I literally knew nothing about video games. Because this guy, he always seemed like the distinguished video game player. Like he was really concerned with the quality and whatever was coming out, he would have an opinion on and everything. And he was really up to speed. And so when he told me about, okay, this is TF2, like try this out. The context he gave me was how it defied the meta for visual styles of like shooters of that type, and that more basically making like that more cartoonish atmosphere. Cartoonish is almost a dirty word, but plausible, right? Because even if, and you can chime in again, Richter, like the early play tests or the early reception of TF2 from like TF Classic fans, a lot of it was backlash or like people being not down.
Why is
with
this the Incredibles? What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And to be fair, if it was like, there's what TF2 is, and then there's one step too far with the cartoonishness, where it's like, okay, this is cartoonishness without class, and at that point, it wouldn't have achieved what it did. Like I think I don't know. It's a totally different world to imagine, but imagining that they shipped something more with like the visual incoherence of modern TF2 in 2007, I wonder if it would have been just like too repulsive for people too pushing in the direction away from camouflage. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, the game would
agree.
have a player count reflective of Team Fortress Classic today. That's what it would have. It would be.
I mean, a big part. We're referencing an entirely different time in gaming in general, where you had a cohesive visual style or presentation of a video game, where you didn't have this really messy composition of a bunch of stuff dumped in, complete incoherent messes of like neon colors and Nicki Minaj and what have you, Lil Rizzy thrown in these games, right? And I mean, and TF2 is just another game that was tight and coherent, and it absolutely, if it had been shipped in the state it was today, it would have been laughed out of the room. It's like, what do you mean this guy? What do you mean this guy with a fucking hard hat building a metallic sentry gun can just equip a Yeti head or something? It's like, what is this? It's a mess.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before in some of my videos too, but I feel like that's why it clicked with me personally, because at the time I started playing, I didn't have the eye of somebody who's been playing a lot of video games who could like I remember, like the one time I went to someone's house and his older brother was playing Counter-Strike, and like it just looks like a blur to me. Like I couldn't understand what was going on. Like I could watch a baseball game and understand what was going on, but watching him play a game like that, the visual stuff was not clear enough. Whereas, hop in TF2 and, the silhouettes, the outlines, the colors, everything, it was like, okay, I can kind of grasp enough what's happening to just hug the payload cart and like start to.
That's another huge part of the game as well.
This is something I wanted to get out of the way and just say, because like supposedly they say Valve is like fucking with the Team Fortress IP again. They're thinking of making a new game in the Team Fortress IP. And I just have to say, like, if first of all, I don't know how it could be the same with how much has changed about the company and all the people who've left, et cetera, et cetera.
It would be nothing like. But
one thing I do know is, like, if they base Team Fortress 3 on what Team Fortress 2 is today culturally, there's no doubt in my mind it would be terrible.
Oh yeah, that's just irrefutable. Like, because it just wouldn't be the same game. What are they going to copy? That, like, the Yetis, like Yeti canceling? Like, what the? There's nothing beautiful here, man. This is just the gimmicks.
Well, that's crazy.
They're going to throw Saxton Hale and a jetpack in there, right? That's what the modern TF2 is for a lot of people.
Well, and Valve, it also
for them as well.
It just seems like the focus obviously shifted away from making games. That's just a huge part of this whole conversation.
Oh, duh.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, even speculating about them making a game, it's like, okay, look at what's happened. Like, I don't know, maybe Half-Life Alyx was like, cool, everyone was down with that. But like, what was it? Artifact, Deadlock, I guess people like, I don't know. But like, I don't think it's really on the top of people's lists anymore, especially like younger players who didn't like, I don't know, if you started playing in 2013 or 14, like how many significant Valve releases have there even been in the last 10 years?
Yeah, supposedly Deadlock, that's been like 7 years in the making or something. That's like insane to me. It doesn't look like
and it's not
a
even
labor
close.
of 7 years of love. It looks like
it's not even close to being done either. They have still like 3 years left of development before it's even a complete product. It's like I cannot see. I can't see it being successful because of just I don't know what they're doing with that. It's a hot mess from what I've seen.
I just don't think there's anything there for anyone who has casually described as a TF2 soul gene or whatever.
Yes, the TF2 soul gene, yes.
There's nothing in Deadlock for someone with the TF2 soul gene. Actually, maybe you should explain that. You would explain it better than me. It's a talking point from one of Casual's videos.
Well, I mean, it's also just an evident thing that most of you listening can probably relate to and understand. Like, because there's people who are going to play the game and maybe they'll enjoy it. They'll have some time in it, just in the way that anyone would play any game. Like there's hundreds of games out there that you can get into that have communities, blah, blah, blah. But you stick around. I mean, if you're here, you've probably reached the point of like this sort of in and out of TF2 where, TF2 is not a young game anymore. Most, or I'll say most, but most of the people involved in the culture are people who've been around for a while, because kind of there's this sense that you can't escape. You can't quit. This was always a meme in like competitive TF2 back in the day. I mean, still ongoing, but even way back when it was just like, oh, you can't quit TF2, because people would say they would, and then they always come back was the saying,
Yep.
right?
They all come crawling back at some point. They cannot shake this game.
And I'm sure you guys are all at that same place, but like for me, in the first few years, it was awesome, but there still was not the sense of, oh, this is going to be something that's around, ongoing. And part of that too has to do with just like what we saw in our lives up to that point, because okay, if I start playing in 2012, it's like, were people playing games from 2002 and 2012? No. Realistically, no. No one gave a fuck about games from 2002 and 2012. Of course, niche people, let alone like, okay, let's dig back 20 years, right? No, I mean, that's not the lifespan of games back then, or of a lot of different forms of media. And we've kind of reached this point of us not being able to tell when things are quote unquote modern anymore. That kind of gets into a side tangent.
I have...
But TF2 is going to live for a long time,
Yes, yeah.
Tell me, Richter.
My friend Ratlobber told me something the other day. It totally shocked my senses. The games that you and me make video, or I guess mainly me, we were talking about Source Engine games in general, but it applies to Team Fortress 2 in specific as well, is me being the age that I am now, talking about Team Fortress 2, it's the same time gap between AVGN talking about Castlevania 2. Like, it's been a long time. It's been almost 20 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, you guys remember people saying the game was dead when you started playing, probably. I don't know about Richter because he was there pretty early, but I remember.
People have been saying the game is dead since 2009. Like, as soon as hats got put in the game, people are like, it's fucking over. We're done. We're leaving.
You watch an old...
And here we are.
And he like
18 years later.
Yeah, totally. You find all these historical quips of like, God, the game's 8 years old. It's so over. And it's like, oh man. That's why in my opinion, I don't think TF2 will die until it is replaced by something as good or better, because that seems to be the
cycle of things now. All games are designed to be forever games, and they will last indefinitely until something else steps in and usurps them in terms of what people want.
Right, because very realistic too. Valve just, if they screw things up worse, like at the worst, it would just end up being like a community mod. People are just now playing their own version of TF2. But why don't we maybe this is a good time to talk about why we're here, Richter in particular, or everyone. But what is the
why don't you go first, Zesty?
This is going to come off as pretentious, and it's going to come off as very egotistical. But when it comes to any form of conversation about Team Fortress 2, there is a distinct lack of deeper conversation about this video game. Most of the conversations we see about Team Fortress 2 are very surface level. They involve
younger audiences.
Basics about the
they're
gameplay,
for younger audiences, and they're by younger audiences. It's people who started in 2015, and it makes me cry when someone's like, "Oh, I know what quick play was really like. I joined in 2015." It's like, you think that makes you a veteran, bro? You think that makes you a big man on the block? See, I came up playing Team Fortress 2, and I joined in 2009, and I was the biggest noober in the server. And it's so frustrating that there's no voice of like the people who were calling me a noob back then. They're not represented anywhere now. They don't exist anymore. They're 35 and they have jobs and they have children. I want there to be a place where I want there to be a place where people can tune in and hear the people who were calling me a noob when I was 5, because I want to know what they think of the game now, because they saw it before it was a Frankenstein of experimentation and like cosmetics and unusuals and all of that.
It's a Frankenstein of experimentation, right? It's a Frankenstein of experimentation because TF2 is the consistent testbed for Valve's other monetization schemes for their other games, right? That's what TF2 turned into and remained all the way through 2017, roughly. But this is ideally a space for more intimate discussions about the game for people that have a deeper appreciation and a longer history with the game. Co-hosted by people who've been playing the game for probably more than most these days. So, and
which is crazy.
Which is crazy to think about. And also, to continue what I was saying, there's a distinct lack of, careful and intimate conversations about Team Fortress 2 that kind of go beyond very surface level things. And this is ideally a good place for that, because it seems like people just don't really care.
There's not many people engaging with the substance of Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, it's important that we have these kinds of conversations, and ideally, this
or
is a good
even
source
just
for
being
that.
critical about its history, and like, I don't know, it's
interesting to just discuss
critical
its
about
history.
it at all.
Yeah, because I think to your point, like I'm sure there's a ton of younger people who are just curious. Your old stories are just like what things used to be like. Like I know I was when I started playing the game. Like, whenever I get into something, I'm always interested to hear from people more experienced from me. Like, what were things like before?
Well,
like,
casual. I
tell
see
me
so
how we
many
got
people.
here.
There's so many people who like dig up old videos of Team Fortress 2. You'll see people who are very young and they're looking up old footage because it's a completely different game. It's a completely different atmosphere,
Well,
and they can tell. They can see an old Team Fortress 2 screenshot, and contrast that to what they're seeing
not
in
the same
live.
game. No, yeah, it's
when there's
different.
somebody as loud as Zesty going, "Bro, this game used to be better. It like kind of sucks now." People are going to look into that. Like, people are young. They're not stupid, right? Like, they're going to go look back, see how much they can evaluate whether what he's saying is true or not. And they're going to see that the game was very different. I mean, obviously, you can't go back and play it. They're not dumb is the point I'm trying to make. I'm sorry. I'm a little all over the place, but...
You're good. I mean, I think, too, there's also nuance to the accessibility of that old spirit of TF2, because it's like there are some things that are very modern. Like if we just think of, I don't even know, like people playing pastime or something. This is like a newer thing, right, that people do. In the big picture
was,
of it.
What, 2014 when that was put in the game? Jesus, man.
Self there. Yeah.
Ugh.
There's going to be a lot of that. But my point is to say, like, you can still have like a nice match of Dust Bowl or Gold Rush. And, there's these pockets of these moments where it's, of course, not going to be exactly like it was before, like the exact, the weapon balance or the amount of cosmetics and all that. But it's also not completely gone. The foundation of it is all still there, right? And so it's kind of, there's a varying amount of it that we're always still in touch with, even if a new player hasn't yet made that discernment, right? But I believe a lot of people intuit it, or they start, if they take it TF2 far enough, and if they give it enough time, I think they start to pick up on those details, right? Just naturally of like, oh, some of these items are very fitting for the game and classy, and then some of them are kind of crazy, and same with the maps or whatever. You can tell, I'm sure, at a certain point that like, oh, there's a different feeling and art style to a lot of these community maps compared to the ones made by Valve.
No, yeah, and you're hitting on something that I have repeated consistently on a lot of my videos and streams, is you can still get at little nuggets of that original experience, or little pieces of it after you kind of dig away and sift through all the crap that's been piled on top of the game over the years. You can still get at those little pieces, and it's so disheartening that newer players, especially like say post Jungle Inferno and more so like post Meet Your Match, they've only experienced the little nuggets, and so of course they're gonna have like that natural curiosity of like, wow, that was really fun, or like you just said, wow, this is like they put the pieces together in their head, and like they have that aha moment of like, whoa, this gun looks really good here and works. And then as opposed to like the neon pink and yellow ghost gun skin, it's like, whoa, what the fuck is this doing here? Like they have that aha moment of like, whoa, something's off here, right? And so then they're gonna have that natural curiosity of like going out of their way, looking at older stuff in the game, and then whenever they pick up either myself or someone else saying like, the game is way worse off than it was now, it's like this podcast ideally will offer a place for them to come and get more of that historical perspective of people who've been playing the game for a very long time, to kind of clue them in like, no, the game that you're playing right now, the version of TF2 you're playing right now, is not as good as it once was,
or as it could have been, right?
And is absolutely not as good as it could have been.
Right. You could have better, yeah. Just because it's been so long at this point, like I don't feel super like I'm needing to convince people of like, well, look, the old TF2 is good, and Valve has made so many bad choices just because it's been going for so long. Like I remember, my first update was like a disappointment for me personally on some levels. Meet the Pyro, some aspects of it I loved, but there was just a sense like, from the beginning for me that it was like, oh, I'm hyped, but it's not. I liked what they had so far, and I'm not liking where things seem to be going. So I don't feel necessarily like I need to like tell people like, oh, this is good, this is bad, and you have to think that. I think people, put it out there. People will agree. If they agree, they'll, you'll find the like-minded people. You'll find the people with the TF2 soul gene. I just want to add to something I hope to offer here and add to the mix. And I think it's compatible too with what you're saying, Zesty, about a more kind of serious or in-depth perspective on TF2 is that I've always been fascinated with the aspects of TF2 just that are not the literal game, not the mechanics, not the weapons, not the maps, not the actual gameplay. That stuff, of course, I can geek out on as well. But it's been so interesting to me the social, the connective aspect of it, but also like people sharing more of their human qualities through all of this, because like when I think of those early YouTubers I watched too, like Derma and Star, I'd say in particular, like part of what intrigued me was like, okay, there was the commentary, the gameplay, but it was also those cracks of like real life seeping in, like the stories about getting lost somewhere and he's, doing his TF2 scout fan illustrations and whatnot. Because I think like there's a lot of people who reach a point where they kind of turn away from video games as they go from adolescence into adulthood and kind of, they belittle it, or they kind of push it into their shadow and say like, oh, well, that was something I did when I was young and it doesn't really define me anymore. And I don't need that, which, hey, if people do that, power to you. There's a lot to do in life. I get it. But I think it's really a wonderful thing if those kinds of people, instead of feeling like it has to be repressed, like I think you can still be involved and be a person who shares your experience of things through TF2 in a myriad of ways without having to be like that same way you were involved from the beginning. So I'm just a big fan of like people sticking around and having the conversation, because there's a lot of younger people who want to hear it, or benefit from it, or they need to kind of in the way to know like, oh, hey, you can do this in TF2. Like, yeah, this is kind of just about a game. But at the same time, it's like, there's people who meet their spouse through this game, right? Or there's people yeah, tell me.
You're hitting on the main thing here, where TF2, or when it was released in 2007, the concept of a social game, right? This is not something. It was a rare gem where it was so easy to kind of open up and share yourself within the game because of its communication features and the fact that you would kind of play with the same people for long periods of time. It's very easy to get to nobody because all of the servers are run by the players themselves, right? For the first 3 years of the game, it was entirely, so to speak, owned and operated by the people who bought the game. So very early on, it was kind of established like, okay, yeah, you're going to have a very deep and intimate human connection with this environment, not with the game itself, because like you said, the mechanics and even so much as like the very meticulously crafted visuals and presentation of the game, a lot of that comes second. But the thing that keeps drawing a lot of people back and making them more willing to share those human experiences is because of those key social aspects and how so easy it is to interact with other people in that same digital space. Not even with just say voice chat or text chat, but like being able to look at them, like walk right up to them and just be in like and hang out with them in that same physical space.
Yeah, and
either shooting at
Team
each other
Fortress 2 is so
or standing in idle places.
To look at someone and do the yes command, and he puts up a thumbs up and big smile. Like that's that element of communication in games is so it's underappreciated in my opinion.
Yeah, and TF2 does that so beautifully well. And I think that opens up the avenue for people being more willing to share pieces of themselves, either in the game itself or through their videos. And again, having those conversations about things that aren't even related to the game itself. Sharing a story of their own life, right? And that's a huge. And I wish I remember this gentleman's name, but he would make these commentary videos where it was just him playing the game. And I'm so upset that I can't remember his name. He never got very big, but he shared a story. And this is just an example of, how people can connect with the game and other people that play the game, because I related to this immediately. He was hungry. All he had in the house was a jar of peanut butter. And he described his experience of eating spoonfuls of peanut butter out of the jar. And he would take a spoonful. He's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, this is awesome. And then a second spoonful. Yeah, this is still awesome. And then by the third spoonful, he's like, fuck, this sucks. It's so hard to eat, but I have nothing else. I have to keep making myself eat it so I can go to the gym, Shit like that. Very small human experiences that are so easy to share because it's so easy just to hang out and interact with people. Like,
Yeah,
so
a great example of like TF2 being uniquely social is the kill cam, right? Like how many games before Team Fortress 2, you know, a guy kills you and it shows you where he was, how he did it, and his shit-eating grin in his profile picture, so you can judge him.
Or
you
his
know,
taunt.
like
Yeah,
how many
or his
games
taunt.
before that did that? You know, that was a great feature. And I mean, even now today, like Fortnite has, you see the guy after he kills you. You see what he did afterward. That's not the same to me. I want to see a shit-eating grin when he killed me. You know, that's or like dominations and like nemesises and like all that. That's really cool. And I don't know how many games were really doing that before Team Fortress 2.
No, but I mean, not many from my memory. And that's also kind of something else too. It's like when you play TF2, you kind of have no choice but to engage in direct interactions with people simply by the mechanics of the game via things like dominations or nemesis and what have you. Like you have no, you can't opt out of that. Like you are going to make an enemy or you are going to make a friend, right? In terms of like assists or dominations, what have you, it goes both ways. Taunts, what have you. Those
and especially
are
if you're
just
on the
game.
same server with someone, it's like this sniper's so fucking good. I have to get better so I can own him. Like it's so hard.
Yeah, the game just naturally built that again because of the gameplay loop that was established of playing with the same people all the time in spaces built by the players themselves.
And it really is hard to overstate how much MVM was just TF2's Manhattan project. Like it just completely like nuked everything in half. None of what we're describing, you can't get this in a 2-minute fucking, you know, like payload game. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think we were talking about this earlier. Like the hype around MVM was so real because there was people were like finding all these clues and stuff. Like, oh, if you go to the back part of this map underneath in the out of bounds area, there's a map with the riddle. You know, yeah, I'm sure Richter could do the details.
Okay,
better.
we're talking about MVM, right? Not Meet Your Match.
Yeah, MVM.
Isn't that what you said?
MVM and MYM. I'm fucking crazy. It's
you
weird.
Just said MVM. Did you mean it?
He was talking about Meet Your Match, but then you picked that up.
Sorry. Did I say MVM?
Then you picked that up as Man versus Machine.
I was so ready to co-sign that. I was like, yeah, you're right. Man versus Machine was the beginning of the end. I was like,
it was. It's true.
You can make a case, but I know exactly what you're talking about, Casual. You're talking about in the back of that one map, it said Autoborax, and it was like framed in wooden beams. And like, backwards, Autoborax, the part that's, highlighted is a robot in reverse. And like, look at the engineer update. There's got like the robot scout arm in the background. And, the SFM beta leaked. And bro, they found these creepy ass Demo Man robot heads. And then on Doomsday, there was the pictures in the spy face palming, looking at the pictures behind him, bro.
Yep.
Like that was awesome. That was
everybody
cool.
might have known where that was going with like the whole like, oh, this is pointing to a PvE mode update or whatever. But for me, it was a total disappointment because it was like, the fun part about TF2 is like gone now. Everything you were just talking about, like the intimate player interaction, and it was like, oh, let's play against bots. Like, bro, what are you talking about? I'd rather play against bots on Dust Bowl.
Well, that was the thing that was really disappointing to me is just like, these are literally TF bots. Like I'm fighting TF bots that I can spawn in a server. This is kind of, there was no designs. It's like they just asked the guy, like, make the heavy look like a robot. And that was the update. And it's like, this could have been so much cooler. I still think MVM is really fun. It just because Team Fortress 2 at its core is fun.
Yeah,
and it's fun to defend in TF2.
To some extent.
It's fun to defend in TF2. So a game mode in TF2 that's all about defense, that's like a no-brainer. But it felt like it could have been done with so much more passion,
So I think,
especially with such a cool ass loadout, or rather rollout, like so much hype.
So much hype. And it just seemed like a weird direction. That's what I thought it was. I was like,
it was very much experimental, and I think it partially served, in my mind, a more sinister purpose. Where, and of course, I have no verification of this whatsoever. This is just my own perception of what this meant. But it was Valve experimenting with reward incentives and strict coordination with your fellow teammates in order to get those rewards. And then how that could be further projected down towards like official matchmaking or official.
Actually, wait, I actually want to join in on Casual's MVM bashing because it's fucking stupid that I give you $2 so I can play this and my reward is a fucking crank. You gave me a rusty crank out of like a toolbox.
Well, and even the hype
it's
around
not worth a cent.
Oh,
it's not worth 1 cent.
You're supposed to be drooling over these like bot killer weapons. I'm sorry.
They're so ugly.
Was I the only guy who was
ugly.
like, why do I want a weird head, like at that point in TF2, there was totally nothing like that. Like there was no weapon skins, you know what I mean? There were war paints or
It was
whatever.
Call of Duty. It's crazy. It's a ridiculous thing.
Man.
It was fucking weird, and like
it was like a Game Banana skin that they made into the game. Like,
yeah, and it's like, and it wasn't even like refined. It was just like the head attached to the gun, and it was really
have you ever
wobbly
really just
and
slowed
obnoxious.
down and realized how just fucking ugly Australians are? They're so bad. You could make gold weapons look good in TF2. They didn't. They just fucking. It's like a horrible chrome shader that they made like brown. It just looks so
understand. You have to understand why Valve was doing that too. The bot killer weapons was another experimentation towards what they were going to do with Counter-Strike, because they were trying to figure out what the weapon skins were going to be. They tested TF2 with full-on weapon remeshes, you know, things like the postal pummeler for the extinguisher, what have you, and they realized, like, oh shit, that's not going to fly in Counter-Strike. We can't market that, because if it's a weapon that's functionally the same but looks different, that's going to confuse players. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Weapon accessories. Same gun, but with like an attachment or a dongle slapped on that. Same problem. It's going to fuck people up. We're like, oh, they're going to notice the big shiny disco ball attached to their fucking gun first and not what the gun is doing. That's going to confuse players. And then, boom, Australians was the answer. They threw that out in TF2. Oh, perfect. CSGO has skins now, where it's just a recolor of the weapon.
And that bothers me so much that, like, TF2 fans, we've been the test bed for all of their fucked up guinea pig experiments. And that's like all we've ever been to them for 16 years, really, to be honest.
Yeah,
like
since 2009, when they first put hats in the game, that was the beginning of the end. In a way, it was the beginning of the end, where TF2 is no longer this intimate and well thought out endeavor of making a beautiful and fun game. It was now about making money.
Well, and
it devolved into this. It just sort of devolved into this abomination that cries out to the heavens for vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate that. I don't even want to say the people who made it. I'm just going to say the company, right? Because obviously so many people left or moved to different projects or whatever.
Same people, yeah.
But it's just a shame that the company didn't kind of believe in it or see the beauty in it in the same way that like we do, the people who played the game, you know. And this has been such a theme for a very long time, like so long. The whole time I've been playing the game, is just the people who make the game don't play the game. You know, I remember.
Well, in their mind, I think that it was still Team Fortress Classic to them. Like, they treated it how they would have treated Team Fortress Classic. Like, fuck it. I mean, if people are still playing this for some reason, maybe we can use that to get data on our other shit. Because it's like, if you look at Team Fortress Classic, it's like, you know, it's kind of like, it's very boring. It's like a sawdust factory. I don't think they ever saw the appeal to the art or the setting or the atmosphere the game provided. It was literally just, this is our test bed.
Because if they invested in its potential, if they had that different perspective coming out of like, you know, the turn of like 2009, 2010, because they did do a lot of good stuff in those early years of the game too. Like there was a lot of attention and the blog posts and all that. But if they just saw it back then as like, hey, we're going to be holding on to this for a while. There's going to be a significant player count in 15 years. The community stuff, none of it's going to stop. Like, how do we want to play the long game? You know, while still maybe meeting some of those other criteria they were concerned with, you know, in the ways they wanted to use TF2 as a space to like test new ideas for their games and stuff. Like, that's fine. But I think just rather than seeing it as like, oh, that's going to be old and done, so let's move on. Because, you know, TF2 has survived, but it's the fact that it survived that's like a crazy, astonishing miracle that has to make you go, okay, there's something really special here. Not a lot of people put on that or start talking about like, well, what if it didn't just survive, but it thrived? Like, what if Valve did good things for it, you know? In this whole
is sort of
journey.
silly, but I always imagine like how things would have looked if Meet Your Match had instead been, or I was thinking about how things would have been if Meet Your Match had been like a cross-play update that sort of modernized the game in a intelligent way.
And what if we said that?
Well, what if it was just a good update?
What if it was just really good and we're all like,
okay,
damn,
fair enough. If it was a really good update, that would have been good. But I just think about like it's a casual game, so there's a lot of like you could play it on a console. People played it on the console when it came out. It could have carried into a new generation, and you know, I guess it does still, you know, gain new fans every day in theory. But it could have won over the hearts of more 5-year-olds like me. You know,
totally.
I just don't think that's happening.
It's been
anymore.
going against everything that's been making it worse. Like, it's in spite of everything that it's done so well. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately that's testament just how good the base game is and everything that they've done afterwards, right? That's just how good of a game they made. And it sucks because we know that the ones who made the game absolutely valued their work in that way, where it's like, man, this is something that's really special. But then, as you said, the people above them didn't have that same perspective. But also, you have to understand that games were not they weren't indefinite. They were very temporal, very short-lived.
Printed to a CD.
Yeah, printed to a CD. Like, you buy it, you play it, you're done. Like, they had no idea that this was going to be a game that was going to last more than a year or 2 years. And then once they realized that, they're like, oh, we can do something with this. And then, of course, Dota, CSGO, test, so on and so forth. You know, they didn't have the foresight.
Have you heard that clip? I guess probably you have, because I think you've used a clip from the same stream in one of your videos. But there's that clip where I think it was Shunik and a couple other TF2 YouTubers were interviewing what's left of, I guess, the TF2 team today.
Was it Riller and Jill on the TF Connect?
I think so.
It was Dave, Riller, and Jill on TF Connect, I think is what you're referring to.
And they asked, Shunik piped up and asked this question about, was there any big difference or some change or big moment where you guys had a shift in direction with the aesthetics of the game? And I guess I don't have the quote off the top of my head, but the guy sort of gave this answer of, we had to do what was right for our customers rather than our team. And that breaks my heart because I don't think your customers are happy today. I don't really think they are.
No.
And I think you could have a lot more, and you could be making more money if you had been whatever.
Right.
I mean, more attentive to, treating the game with more care. Absolutely. But I mean, it's not to say, trust me, there are plenty of people who are content with the state of the game right now. I see them every day. But,
though? I feel like anybody who's got any degree of taste or understanding of like the video game market in general has reservations about how TF2 is treated. Like they want at the baseline, they want like, oh, it'd be great if we had more updates. It's the big popular meme like, oh, TF2 is a game with no updates. It gets no updates. Like at the very least, they have that sentiment, right?
Oh no, that is true. I mean, at a base level, well, the thing is not even that. I mean, because like here's the thing, man. The game still does
people
get
can
updates,
feel the neglect,
right? And not everyone. I mean, not everyone. A lot of people view the game as like, oh, it's the hat game, and it gets more hats and maps, and for a lot of people, that's good enough, right? They can go and they can shoot people, they can spend like $2.50 on a box and get a penguin on their head, and that's good enough. Like to them, that's like the standard for games now, right? It's just more
that's something
toys,
that's really interesting.
stuff.
Is the first people to say like, oh, Team Fortress 2 is the war themed hat simulator. I think the first time that was said, it was probably with a good hint of disdain, and I think it's sort of been embraced like it's not said critically anymore. It's like this. That's just what it is. It
absolutely did not start
game.
As a term of endearment. It did not start as a good thing. It started as a disdainful thing, where it's like, oh wow, this what the fuck are they doing with this beautiful game? Why does the demo man have shutter shades? Like I vividly remember. I forget where this post was, but there was someone citing a screenshot of the demo man with the treasure hat and the summer shades and a fucking frying pan, and back then that was that was too egregious for them. Yeah, that demo pan.
There's a comment under the first the Reddit instance of the demo pan of someone saying they ripped off the game's head and shit down its neck, and they said that over the demo pan.
Yeah, and looking at it now, that is infinitely more tame.
It's like preferable. It's like, holy shit, I would have if it just stayed like that.
That's preferable, yeah. And compared to a literal RGB tornado you can get on a hat.
That's such a good description. Is that the name of it? There's no way that's the name of the effect, right? RGB tornado.
No, it's like it's like evanescent particles or like evanescent spirit or some other dumb bullshit because they come up with these really eclectic or eccentric names for these RGB particle effects. I mean, it might as well just be RGB gamer tornado because that's what it is. But because I mean it is. It's like it's just gotten worse and worse and worse, right? And it's like people look fondly back at even something like in 2014, 2015 with like the first waves of skins, like, and that's something else too. It's like the standard, like the goalposts have been shifting further and further and further away from what the base game is, where we look fondly back at like the bright gold digi camo rocket launcher and go, that's a classic TF2 item versus purple and yellow ghosts all over your gun.
Because
right?
it wasn't our job. It was not our job to make sure that what was coming to us was good. It just wasn't. We were just supposed to be entertained. And I guess we were for a while. But
well, and the nuance, there's just so many points where you can look at the updates and what they added and think like, okay, this was great. And then this other thing was like, who was there to give the quality control check to be like...
Who gave the green light for this?
Right. Like I think of the first gen of Paint or whatever. Or has there only been one gen? I don't know. But
Two. There was two waves. The first wave of paints was the more reserved colors, and then they leaned into it more with the saturated stuff.
Right, because so many of them you're like, oh, this is like so tasteful and fine, and then it's like, okay, why the pure black, pure white, pure green? What's going on here? You know,
there's this extremely distressing interview of
you
Robin
showed me
Walker.
this, Richter.
I'll have to send it, and he says, we shipped our first paints, and there were so many people who are saying we have to be so careful about what we do with this game. And I told them, we have to ship stuff that breaks the art style so we know that it can be broken. You know,
it hurts, man.
The logic is like the opposite of what anyone could conclude. It's like we have to know that we're right, that there's a line that can be crossed. And it's like, well, no, that's like saying I need to pee myself. Like, in order to know that peeing myself is bad, I need to go pee myself in front of an audience of people so that I can confirm that it's bad. It's like, no, you should just understand that peeing yourself is bad. Why is the conclusion like this might be a bad idea? Let's do it in front of everybody. That's fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so...
Well, and the messed up thing is that TF2 kind of opened the door for a lot of this, I think, happening in the rest of the industry.
Absolutely.
And they had this role to like they were the innovator with the art style, again, not being...
With the movies on their own, like Overwatch did movies, like Fortnite has like little movies.
Totally. And I think it's kind of like you want the innovator to always be the one with the good take. You want them to like uphold that status of like, oh, well, I'm the original. I know what's up. I have the, you guys should all be looking to me for inspiration. It's like it started that way. But then I think because it just naturally trails on a bit, it's a shame that the discernment, declined. Because imagine if they upheld their, that same kind of status or the same standard that they did that allowed them to make the game in the first place. That's why this is like not a crazy conversation, is because it was there.
It was there because the people were there. And then they weren't. They left the company for one reason or another, and the people that were left behind were the people that were not concerned with the game's visual integrity. They were cared about. They cared more about making money. I just look at Team Fortress 2, and it's like Valve makes more money per employee than Microsoft. How is this the level that their games are being maintained at?
The money, where I just complain about how much money these people make, so everyone gets angry.
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
No, what do you call it? You were talking about programmer salaries.
Oh, dude, yeah, that's got to be its own episode, because then
okay.
If you just treat Valve like they're like charity workers, right, and it's like they're doing it out of the love of their hearts, just the same way that people make maps and weapon skins and whatever out of the love of their heart. It's a little easier to humanize them, but then when you realize that like this is how they pay their rent and keep the lights on,
they make $2 to $5 million a year.
Yeah, they make loads of money. They're not begging for scraps here. They're very well off.
Yeah, so that's its own thing. I want to shift the topic just slightly, if you guys don't mind, because in a positive way, like I think one of the aspects of TF2's initial design that has, I think, like kept it being something that people can get in touch with that goodness about it is the fact that all these additions over the years were additions. They were slapped on. Like it wasn't really built. They didn't plan for the game to have hats. And an example of that is like, at least, thank God when everybody launches the game, like everybody starts with 0 items. You pick your class selection screen, you have the original designs, more or less. Don't get too nitpicky here, right? But they are what was initially intended. And like you see that like the stock weapons are like the default weapon. You understand some sort of sense that this weapon is, for whatever reason, seen as like the gold standard. And maybe it's not even in that case, like mechanically, but I remember having that experience very early on where, there was unlocks aplenty when I started playing TF2, but I remember like noticing one of my friends purposefully putting on, and I have like 100 hours at this point, but he's purposefully using the stock weapons on a class where like maybe some of those stock weapons are clearly suboptimal. But we had no conversation about it. I didn't ask him about it. But I just kind of found like he kind of changed my mind a bit about it from that spot of just like, oh, okay, he's appreciating something about the stock fire axe or the bone saw or whatever it is, right? Or even just the stock flamethrower at that time, because it wasn't quite.
They are the best weapon designs in the game still.
There's something so cool and beautiful about that like I think you're allowed to do that in TF2, because if it is this world of like we're concerned with the cosmetics and the hats, and you're expressing yourself with the visuals of your character. I like that can also shift into, I'm using this weapon because I like the way it looks. You know, I'm using the stock rocket launcher because I think it just looks awesome. Like I think that's such a beautiful liberty to take that everybody has to take when they start playing the game. You know what I mean? And so I think that's I want to hear what you guys have to think about this, but I think TF2 attracts a certain type of person, like who has a little more taste. And it's not always the case, right? Some people don't really stick to the game, but I feel like with the people who do stick with it, I feel like there's just something a little different from the people.
It has a really big audience of artists, even people who don't play Team Fortress 2 love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think so two things I want to say. So first, this is just going back to what I said earlier about like the little nuggets you can still get at, because all of the stuff was piled on top of an already amazing and beautiful game. And your first exposure to it is inherently just the base stuff, just how it was largely supposed to look at launch, right? And that helps a lot. And it's kind of like it's a good filter for people coming into it, where if they like the way it looks and the way it feels at face value, it's like, oh yeah, this is cool. And then they have enough taste to keep playing it and it's enjoyable for them and so on and so forth, like you said. But then this touches on people who have taste and who don't, right? And we're not insulting people one way or another here, but I sent Richter a screenshot of this earlier where someone took a poll on Tumblr, like a big TF2 Tumblr page. How many of you actually play the game? 54% did not. Most people that engage with Team Fortress 2 on social media and have like a very surface level understanding of it, or understand it for its not so tasteful things, most of them don't actually play the game, right? And the ones that do come for the tasteful aspects, be it the visuals, the game, the good, well thought out gameplay, the characters, and all the pieces of them that were there at the game's launch, right?
I would say even the people that don't play are there because of that good design that they're like
they're attracted
with.
To it somehow, right? They're attracted to it somehow.
Because I think like how many people are, you know, like embedded in like the fucking League of Legends community and don't play League of Legends. Like there's no way, you know?
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's 100% true. TF2 is a rare exception where you have so much discourse around the game from people that don't even play it.
Like even in my experience, I've had a few funny moments where I've attracted people like to my community, because some of my videos can be a little more like esoteric and like the least TF2 video possible. Like I've had not a lot, but there's been a handful of people who like literally don't play TF2 at all. And they're just like, yeah, you're my link to this. And like, now I know stuff about TF2, or like, you know, we've had people in that we were there to like force them to play their first rounds of TF2 and stuff, you know?
I've had a few people like that as well.
And that's so uniquely possible in this game, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think people are looking at League of Legends videos and going, damn, that looks easily approachable. I could get into that really easy.
Forget easily approachable. Just like, where's the allure, you know?
Just approachable. Like, what is this mess on my screen right now? No, yeah.
League of Legends is hilarious, dude. Oh my God. People still play it too. Bless you all. Bless any mobile player who has to be listening to this right now. But it's just like, it's beautiful. I mean, some people collect.
They're not catching a break. You're shitting on fucking Deadlock, or you're shitting on.
Well, Deadlock's not a MOBA. Deadlock is some other beast. I don't even know what you could call it.
But I'm curious, Richter, about like this. I jokingly say that this is your fantasy. This conversation we're having too. And so to give you some context too, like, I had really no correspondence with Zesty until recently with Richter's willing it into existence, you know, and Richter, I don't know, probably started contacting me a year and a half ago because he was very charmed by that video that I had made. And we've been, you know, speaking since, but this is really kind of your brain project. Like that's why part of my gratitude here is just because like I enjoy having the TF2 conversations, but it's rare that I'm invited to what's happening now. Cause admittedly I'm pretty out of touch and not as involved as I have been at different points. So Richter, tell us about your why this is such a thing that needed to exist.
Why did I want to get you and Zesty together?
Yeah. And also why you're not in the middle, because I feel like you should be, because this is your brainchild.
Well, I didn't want to be a part of it at first. I really like Casual's videos. I think he has an air of seniority and he brings a lot of insight. I think obviously there's an appeal in Zesty. You know, he's anti-meet your match. That's like his big nuclear point he's on. And I think Casual, you have a very different perspective about competitive.
Well, I'm anti-meet your match, but I'm a comp defender.
I know.
Yeah.
My point is you're a comp defender. I think Zesty's more hostile. That's like one element of it, right? But
I'm not
also,
that
I think it's
hostile.
interesting. I think
a little bit.
I think
you're talking to me. It's getting cooled down.
It's interesting how different your temperaments are and your backgrounds are, yet you arrive at a lot of the same conclusions that I generally would agree with. And I wanted to see that. I want to see more people like you guys that talk about the game critically. And I was hoping that I could get someone like Lister in here, somebody who's very knowledgeable about the history and, you know, the statistics. But I guess the way it cut out was this was only going to happen if I was in the middle. So that's just sort of how that worked out. But really, I just wanted to listen to a Zesty and Casual podcast. And I'm here because I guess that's just the easiest way to
well,
cut
no,
the cookie.
you are our third man. It only makes sense.
Yeah, no, you have
a lot to say too.
Am I missing the point of your question? I'm trying not to. Casual,
no, this is good. This is good. I just think it should be, you know, for everyone who doesn't know, it would be good that you shared that.
Did I share that as my idea that I wanted to see you guys?
Yeah. Just because like some people might be wondering like how did that happen or why are these people in cahoots now? But definitely Richter is the mastermind, and I mean, to your credit too, you are not everyone I guess might know about it, but you're working very hard behind the scenes, just on kind of putting your own message out there about the legacy of TF2. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, I've been working with Jasper on Team Fortress 2 Gold Rush, and that's supposed to be a preservation of removing content that's redundant or doesn't fit, whatever. It's Team Fortress 2 Nostalgia, the 450th Team Fortress 2 Nostalgia mod, but I believe in it. I believe in Jasper. I actually met Jasper in your community, Casual, and he's leading that mod, and I've been trying to help him with that, so that's been working on that. That should be interesting, if that's what you're pointing toward.
And I think you too bring a lot of that historical perspective, obviously being having played the game literally the longest, but I think too you have just done a lot of that research, so it's interesting to hear like in our dialogue or in our DMs, there's been so many moments where you kind of like bring something up that I think for me is very vindicating, where I didn't know the exact.
Yeah, reading old blog posts, reading old interviews with people, and you can learn a lot about decisions that you might have intuitively thought, I mean, this is a bad call, and then you read the logic of how they arrived at doing that, and you're like, yeah, that's really dumb. It's just a really dumb conclusion to draw, a really, really dumb logic.
When I think it's been nice to hear too from your end that a lot of maybe suspicions other people have had or intuitions other people have had about the trajectory of this game are not just intuitions, but they're like they are embedded into the very real story of what happened to the people who made this game and how it rolled out.
People don't make this stuff up. Like the things we see and the things we point towards in terms of the game's care and development, like they're not fantasies. Like these are very, very tangible, real things. You can point to
there's a really big idea that the game was just always this way, and it could not be far from the truth. That's just not true. It's Team Fortress 2 today is different from TF2 from 2007. It's different from TF2 in 2015. It's different from TF2 in 2016. Like the game has changed a lot, and the idea that the game always had the tone it does now, I think that's the worst rat trap people get caught in with TF2 is like, you'll try to make some degree of a point about like, oh, things used to be taken more seriously, and they'll go, you mean in the stupid-ass duck game? And it's like, well, it wasn't the stupid-ass duck game when I started playing it. Like, the people who made it didn't design a stupid-ass duck game. Like...
Yeah, well, it hurts that that's now the intro you give, because things looked a little different too. Like when my friend was ushering me into this TF2 cult, it was like, oh, there was some eccentric elements, but it was a much less of the sense of me being like, are you serious, man? Look at this. Because I'm sure if if my first like free to play game experience was 2025 TF2, that's so different,
There's elements of TF2 that are accepted as like extremely like, oh yeah, that's Team Fortress 2. This is
Supposed
core
to
Team
be
Fortress
silly.
2. This is super canonized, and it's like, look at Marasmus. Does he look like the sniper to you? Does he look like the heavy? Does this look like this is the same thing? Like, this is really dumb, and I mean, I love all ages of Team Fortress 2 to some extent, but it is very frustrating when people try to pretend that it never changed, or that it's just like nostalgia goggles or whatever, you know.
Well, no, I mean the whole nostalgia or rose tinted glasses argument, or it's brought up by people that can't explain why the old eras were worse or in any way different. It's much easier to kind of dismiss that as, oh, the game's always been this way, therefore you can't have any kind of serious refutation or criticism to how it's being handled, right? There's no way for them to refute it, so they can just easily dismiss it. And it's never a real or serious argument whenever someone throws it out there. And whenever someone says that, you can immediately dismiss them because they're just not worth interacting with. They're not there to have any kind of conversation, right? And that's a big part of me why I'm happy that this podcast is happening, is because it's so hard to find anyone that wants to have these kinds of conversations, and anything beyond surface level bullshit, right? Because I've tried in the past with other people in their podcasts or just sitting down and talking with them, like they're just not interested, right? And they engage with it for a little bit and then they just kind of drift away and don't care. And I know people like us are out there. I know there's a lot more people like us out there that have a much deeper appreciation for the game and want for it to be treated better and wanted for it to be treated better at many points.
It's a battle for its soul, right? Like, I don't want this game to be remembered as like the Yeti poop game.
No, like, yeah, and that's exactly my point. Is, you know, I think there's far more people like us out there, and it's very comforting to be able to, you know, just get into a room with people that, you know, we see eye to eye.
It's great to have a great echo chamber where we can all agree with each other.
Well, I mean, we are by no means an echo chamber, and that will come in future episodes. Don't worry. But not even like an echo chamber, just willing to talk about the game like this, because some people just don't care. Like they're
not willing to engage because it's not special to them. It's not.
No, yeah,
there's not really much sentiment to Team Fortress 2, and if it is sentiment, then it's
and that's
a sentiment for a very different game than was actually designed. You know.
Yeah.
That's why I asked earlier too about how you felt like the changes to the game overlapped your experience of life broadly.
Yeah.
You know, because I think
I probably screwed up answering.
No, it's okay. I mean, you know, it could sound like I'm accusing you of something else, but I think that's also the reason that a lot of people aren't maybe interested in that kind of discussion is either they haven't, like, TF2 just doesn't have that. They don't have that kind of relationship with it, or they haven't reached the place of acknowling it, you know, because I think nobody
how many TF2 media outlets really offer?
Yeah, totally. And I hear you. And I think though, like in my, like I'm super niche, and like I've never been like killing it on putting stuff out there, but in the stuff I have put out there, like the thing that started to, like when I started to get feedback that like, oh, what I'm doing kind of does something, is because I was resonating a lot with people who I just think relate to the exact thing that you're saying, that like they realize they have this kind of deeper kinship with it, and that it is more than just my leisure time for half an hour on weekdays or whatever it is functionally in your life, right?
Well, there'd be no need to fight for Team Fortress 2 in the way that like someone like Zesty does if it was just like you know, a disposable medium.
Totally.
And that's the thing that frustrates me the most is like, why is it a fight at all? Like, why does it have to be a fight? I don't understand. I don't understand why it's contentious to want the game to be better, or to want higher quality content, or to want to see it be treated better. I just don't understand how this is controversial.
Well, because so many people joined and there was already no quality control, and it's like
that's part of it. And I mean, there's so many elements too. Like I think the myth of
also because Valve doesn't even know how to treat the game. You know, so it's sort of who's your authority figure you're going to point to as to this is the sensible conclusion of how TF2 should be treated. Because if you point at the launch game, I mean, that's great, but it was 6 maps. I mean, no rocket jump or no air blast or whatever. You know, so it's hard to delineate like, oh, what is the true Team Fortress 2 that we should all be striving for? People don't usually have a very they don't usually have an answer that's very intuitive for newer players, I don't think.
True. But I mean, even then, it's gotten so bad that we can easily pinpoint the very extreme things and go, okay, maybe stop doing that as like a good first step, right? Even things like that are viewed as contentious or viewed as controversial, and that irks me. Like, again, it shouldn't be a fight. Like, it shouldn't.
Well, some of
be
it
a
is also
debate,
just you being
know?
controversial, Zesty. I think if Dane said something you said, it probably wouldn't be a big deal.
I know. And I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid bringing any of that into this. It is a factor. You know, my notoriety does not help. And if someone else more socially acceptable was leading these conversations, it'd be a much more popular part of the discourse to go, oh yeah, maybe the fucking Santa Claus party hat does actually fucking blow dick. But because I'm the one saying it, it's, you know, now it's contentious. But
that's a very interesting point. I mean, pardon my interruption, but the uniting of the TF2 community has been a struggle from the beginning. And I think this is one of the most interesting aspects of all this. And it's part of the reason I think people like me, like even if you go in and out of eras of not really playing the game, you want to stay in touch with the community. You want to keep seeing bits of what's happening. What's the pulse right now? What is the community talking about? What kind of ideas are the leaders of the community expressing? Right? Because it's become clear, you know, pretty quickly that Valve doesn't always have the best interest for the players in mind. So it's like, well, the best job we could do is to hopefully try to tell them, hey, here's what we need. And this obviously, we can see how this has turned out to be a disaster many times before, but it's our job, regardless of what they do, right, to hopefully give them the most clear message so they have the least chance to screw it up, right? And it's part of why I am intrigued by you, Zesty, because you do have so much fire in you to try to, like you're saying, why doesn't everybody agree with these types of things? Like, why can't we get consensus? Like, because there would be a power to consensus, and I agree, and I think a lot of people might agree, but also feel like they gave up on that fight so long ago, or there's, you know, all the previous community leaders who tried to unite things or tried to sway the public sentiment. Yeah, do you have a thought on that?
I mean, no one's really tried until very recently. I mean, the only exception to that would be competitive players banding together and trying to get Valve to give them, you know, what they want and more attention. But beyond that, there was never a strong push or even a need up until 2016 for your common player to band together under a common banner and go, hey, we need this or that. But then after 2016 happened, there was just no push. Even though, like, unanimously, very quickly, most people could, like, go and go, yeah, this fucking sucks, please undo that. But, like, there was no, like,
a huge impetus for that.
But not even, like, the bot, even before the bot crisis. Like, I mean, like, the initial fallout from Meet Your Match and how it really, like, the game was unplayable for 6 months in the most literal sense, right? Like, the most vocal figure was happy with it and okay with it and supporting and like supportive of it, right? And all of the other voices, and I can only remember like one or two that were like, yeah, this is fucked, but they were small. They were small potatoes by comparison.
Well, what about Muzok?
And
Muzok was pretty nuclear. Muzok,
and I was just about to say, like, Muzok went fucking nuclear, but then he fucked off. Like, I mean, he was done. Like, he didn't want to, like, he got blowback for saying his piece, and then he was gone. Because I think a big overarching problem is that people always hold Valve in this really high regard, and it's so easy to hold Valve in this very high regard and not view them as just another game developer because of how good of a quality of product they usually offer. And then when they fuck up, like every other developer does, it's so easy to dismiss because they can pinpoint how good something else is and kind of just ignore it, right? And that's the same thing that happened with, like, the bot crisis. The game was fucking unplayable for 8 years. But because they kept jingling some keys in our faces, or people could, like, dismiss that and say, oh, you can go play on a community server still, it was so easy to be forgiving of Valve and not band together and, like, go,
even
hey.
That is crazy. Dude, I mean, just, like, any forgiveness to Valve is, in that scenario is like, well, how are we justifying this? Crazy.
That's the wild thing about me, too. And that's the thing that really started pissing me off in later years when I started making my videos more serious, is like, how can anyone be forgiving of this company when they're letting this happen, right? Like, it's insanity that we're putting up with this. And people were just complacent. Like, they just thought it was normal. And that's something that really irked me, is there was no uniting under the common banner with this understanding. Even now, it's only just now more so coming to light because people like me have been harping on it so much. Like, Valve is not a good company. They suck. They're not any better than any other company. They do sometimes even worse shit.
Which in 2025, people should not be afraid to say. You know what I mean? Like, even if you love TF2, especially if you love TF2, you should feel okay saying it. And I think so much of this is the transformation of the mythos around Valve in the last 15, 20 years, whatever, because, you know, back around those like 2010 or so, their reputation is really good. Like they've been killing it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And there's this sense of like, oh, Valve will be ready when they're ready. Valve works in mysterious ways. Like just trust. Like that was totally the narrative that
the gaming gods.
Yes. Which, okay, it made total sense then. And so I think that's such a problem with all this is that everything they do is under the same banner of Valve, no matter how much things have changed with the personnel or their results, right? So it's like, that's, I think, why this has been such a struggle to even like defy the authority, right? Because if you talk about even there being a lack of the, you know, a strong community member saying meet your match is okay, like when it happens, or, you know, so much of that is like the hopefulness that our parent who's suddenly screwing up has some bigger plan in store, right? And that we can fall back on this trust Valve. They always deliver.
Yeah, that's always been the expectation is they're going to deliver. They're going to pull through. It's Valve time. They're working on stuff, right?
And then now that
it is. I mean, yeah, it's been dead since 2013. Like that's just a fact. And
but it takes time for these things to shift, right?
It's amazing that it's taken more than 10 years, right? Like it has taken 10 years for people to even now start being more accepting of it.
They have things that they offer that are still, like people still love Steam. Steam's a very convenient service.
Okay, but being a fan of Steam at this point is so fucking honky corporate. Like who cares?
It's like being a fan of Walmart.
Yeah, I love Amazon.com. They get me my packages quickly. Yeah. It's like good for you,
there's a
man.
lot of people like that. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I just love Amazon. Like that's, you're making a joke. There's so many people like that.
Who's like that? Who's like, hey, how you doing?
What
are you
like, I love using Amazon. It's so, well, I don't know, maybe not anymore, but like 8 years ago they were.
Maybe when it's like a novel technology, like getting fast packages. But same thing with Valve, right? It's like, okay, early on, it's cool. Like, whoa, you can download games online. We don't need the disc anymore or whatever. I mean, I'm sure at some point that was the talking point for them, but at this point,
not anymore. Now it's just the standard. It's normal. There's no novelty to it. It is just how things work now. It's like you can't even like point at that and go, "This is what makes Valve great." It's like pointing at a gas station. They offer unleaded like everyone else does now. It's like, okay, cool, whatever.
And sometimes they spill oil into the ocean.
Yeah. But you forget shit like Deepwater Horizon happened because
there's definitely more people that are fans of Steam than are fans of like Epic Games. Like that's at least
but
that,
I
right?
know, but come on, nobody's gonna say they're a fan of Steam. That's just great.
No one says it's a convenient service. It's you learn things about it and it makes you think about them differently. But
I'm kind of giving you shit here, but it's just a little too broad, big picture, and like an alien kind of way. It's like somebody going like, I like using the computer. Like no one would like if we track your actions and behavior, like, okay, we could say that about you, but it's like no one would, that's not the way you'd think about it, right? I love screens, you know? I'm just a fan of the screens. I've been loving that lately.
Man. But no, it's comforting now that it's taken so long that now we are starting to kind of shift gears a bit.
Well, I commend you for
finally being more critical.
Giving them shit. You know, I think anybody giving them shit is like, yeah, let's have it happen, please. Because
no, yeah. And Valve kind of lucked out on this a lot too, because they got a very early jump on their public perception, right? Before social media became extremely prevalent and more widely accessible and always in your fucking pocket, where, you know, they became a household name before Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, YZ, whatever the fuck. Before that was like a household name, right? And they built up their reputation of making good games and their quirkiness and funny Gabe Newell, the fat man with the glasses, you know, nope, it's just me, Gabe Newell. That's who they were.
Right.
And then when it became the standard, more so like going from 2014, 15, 16, huh?
Mega 64 reference.
Yeah. But like moving forward, when social media kind of like became the tool by which people could hold game companies accountable, Valve had already crafted their appearance where like no one would dare to try to strike them down because they were so, and this is something too, and I'll cite this thread of tweets made by a former Valve employee again, where they explicitly cite Valve
you're gonna
going
get that guy's
well
house
out of their
exploded.
way.
His house is gonna get fucking
Oh, he's
nuked.
fine. It's not like anything bad's gonna happen. But like, you know, he very clearly cites like Valve wines and dines game journalists and people with, you know, good high social standings to maintain that public perception of themselves, right? Valve got a jump on this far before anyone else did, and far before it became industry standard, because Valve just knew this was coming. They were very smart in that regard, and that's just managed, and they've held out for this long thanks to that. And now only very recently, especially, I think the big crack really started with CS2 and how big of a flop that was initially, because CS2 is way bigger. And it was such a disappointment for so many people, and just how broken it was, and how there's still content missing. Like, oh, Valve is not infallible. They really can fuck up. And this is like their golden goose that they fumbled like a fucking deflated football. That helped a lot. And then, this kind of, I think, gave the green light for more people to be more critical of like even the basic stuff, like bot crisis with TF2 and what have you. And again, it's just good to see that, people being more critical of Valve finally years later, when it was needed when it was really needed a decade ago. Like, I mean,
I'm
imagine
worried about the perception of I don't think our podcast should just be totally here's why the game is terrible and why we need to nuke Valve.
No, we're not. No, we're not doing that
also,
at all.
I'm not trying to give you shit or like bitch. I'm saying like there's an element to Team Fortress 2 that I think is still beautiful and you can be constructive with. Do you know what I mean, Casual? Like
well, yes. I mean, the thing is,
what's beautiful is that I know that there's going to be people who are going to watch this podcast and are going to like know what you guys are talking about. And those people can make beautiful things still. They can make things that are as beautiful as Team Fortress 2 once was if they really try, right?
Absolutely. And the TF2 community is very strong and very special, is what I would say. And,
special in a couple of ways.
Dude.
Oh, yeah,
so
special in many ways. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, to give an example of that, I was talking with someone the other day, and they're like, hey, I have this concept for a map. Do you want to see it? Because, they have that offshore project happening right now. And they sent me a piece of artwork they made, and it was like fucking indistinguishable from TF2's original concept art. And I'm like, holy shit. You could have said this was done by like Frankie and Wolpod. I would have believed you. Like, there's no way that that's how much talent is oozing from people in the player base, right? Like, it's all there.
It's a big fly trap for talented people. It really is. It's and that's like, that's why I brought that up. Like, there's so many people who are pushing like, what can you do with Team Fortress 2? Well, it turns out you can make a full-length horror movie that's 2 hours long and it'll get 15 million views. Like, you can still do that. It's
right.
It's crazy.
It's such a powerful medium for all kinds of forms of expression. Like, that's something that's, when you look at TF2 from afar and you go, okay, what makes this game different from other ones? It is that breadth of, on one hand, you have the silly Gmod style videos very early on, and even into SFM, and like this intense humor and memeability of TF2. Even the reason too, a lot of normal people who don't necessarily play games might know about it, because it just has that crazy cultural iconicity. But even beyond that, there's like this other side of much more, kind of serious and like people just basically using TF2 to do their art project with, which is so cool. But I mean, again, it's not to say like people aren't doing enough, but I would just encourage people to look around you too, to the people that you're associated with, and try to think about what you can do, like imagine you're the main character a little bit, because if we think of even somebody can help me out here on the history here, but a lot of important games kind of are made originally from people that were like some community mod project team for some other game.
Valve was hiring car mechanics and barbers, people who made mods, and the mods were good. You've got an axe. So
and it becomes very nuanced, because I would also say that so much of this has to do with just how different life is and people's lifestyles are, and our sense of connectedness and things having become even more corporatized and social mediatized and all of that. Like, the lifestyle of everyone playing TF2 now is very different from the lifestyle of people playing TF2 in 2007. So I think that I'm a believer that that's part of what everybody has their own individual struggle of kind of pushing uphill against. But I just encourage people to, use their talents and try to do stuff. Like, I haven't done a ton in that regard, but I pride myself on like it being so cool to see what people do when I've pushed them too. Like we did like a game jam type of thing in my community, and we did a visual novel at some point, and it's just like it's crazy how much there is, like how much talent is around, but it's just not focused necessarily. And it's not to say like people don't have their own lives and other ways that they're expressing their talents. Of course there is, but there's a lot of potential. So somebody might hear that.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned like community stuff too. Like when I started harping on crappy war paints, almost immediately there was like a greater demand for higher quality skins in TF2. And another YouTuber and I kind of like put our heads together, like, okay, what if there was a space for people to do that in? And there was, Painter's Workshop was born, and now like some of the highest quality content I've seen made for TF2 is coming out of that place. Like there is just this infinite well of extremely talented people that can just that will just do it if prompted, if asked, right? If given the place to do it and the motivation, it will be done.
And that's always been evident too, I think, with the community involvement and creation of TF2 content. Like it's a shame that we have to talk about this and go, yeah, well, separate the good stuff from the bad stuff in terms of what the community contributed, right? But again, this is really just all on Valve in terms of what they let pass through. But like, if we're real about it too, I'm totally kind of a TF2 purist guy, but there's so many fucking great maps, and weapons and well, maybe less so weapons, but maps and cosmetics that have been added that like were made just by community people, and they're great. They fit TF2, they play well, all that kind of stuff. So like it's clearly been there. It's just kind of a question too of I'm always curious to know if it can jet out into a new direction. It's like, what if these people really mobilized? How much could they do? And that's part of why I've always been drawn to the competitive
dormant
scene.
Dormant missiles laying in the field.
Sure, because you look at the competitive scene and you say, okay, well, who else in the community is mobilizing in this way? Who else is using their power to say, let's host these events, let's put on our own production, let's create our own fundraisers to get the teams to the events, let's put our own money on the line to incentivize it. Like, that's what I saw when I first got into TF2, and I think it's part of what made me want to get involved with that scene. But it's also to say it's not exclusive about that scene. It's just the idea of like, there is a lot of power when the community decides to band together. It's just a matter of what that flag is that they can all get behind.
And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's so hard for people to unite under a common banner or a common direction.
Totally.
And it takes...
Because Team Fortress 2 has been so many different games. It's been so many different things to so many people. Like even I am like, you said that like a TF2 purist. I'm like a super TF2 purist. But even I didn't join in 2007. I was like 5. I was like 5 and I joined in 2009. And to be honest, I wouldn't have known if what I was playing was good or not. So it's, I as much as I would like to tell people like, okay, try to like separate Team Fortress 2 and like think about what it was back then and, try to imagine it without the wizards and, the crazy bread and the comics and stuff. Like that's hard. That's hard because to so many people, that is all they've ever known of the game. Right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm having to put my mind in the, I'm having to put myself in the shoes of somebody that I'm definitely not having the perspective of, but I can imagine that there's people out there.
Imagine someone who became a Team Fortress 2 fan last year.
I just think it's more about the type of person that is. You know what I mean? Because I feel like some people get the scent, they sniff the scent, and they kind of get it, and they'll find the narratives about it. You know what I mean? Even if you started last year, not everyone. I think there's some people, again, who just start playing and they have no idea what happened before 2022 or whatever, right?
Yeah. And I can immediately vouch that there are a lot of people out there. A lot of people in my community started playing, after 2020. And then they approach me and go, hey, my eyes have been really open to like how the game has changed over the years. And like, I'm upset that I could not experience the previous iterations or spaces this game once hosted, So those people are out there. Those people are out there, right? They're there.
And because we got to be welcome to the new people. I mean, that's part of it too, is that even if we're bragging about like how old we are and stuff. I mean,
I didn't mean to brag. I'm not trying to brag.
No, you're good. I'm putting us down a notch. I'm trying to be humble about it, right? That of course there needs to be that welcoming attitude to people who have no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? To people who maybe, again, they can have certain intuitions about it, but I say, like, for whatever reason people are drawn to TF2, like, come in, please. It's just a matter of...
We need you.
Yeah,
please stay. This game is old, and like the game will literally die without new blood.
We need to defund the Team Fortress 2 immigration custom we have, because it's like...
What is that?
You see every YouTuber... Well, we're like the only community in gaming that has an idea of like dual loyalty. Like if you leave TF2, you're a traitor. You went to Overwatch and we don't want the Fortnite kids. Like even from 2007, how many TF2 players were like, oh, we're not like COD, that stupid kitty crap COD. Like we've always the TF2 community has always been super, they have an immigrations custom and it needs to it's always held them back, I think, in my opinion.
No, yeah, and it's been common practice to kind of shit on new people more so than.
Do you see what I mean?
Do, right?
I guess saying that unprompted does sound a little like insane.
No, it's just a colorful metaphor. No, I got you.
Well, it's just true though. Like that is just how the game's been for basically since its inception, more or less.
Yeah, and to some degree, this is human nature as well. Like I can speak at length due to that issue in the comp scene because it's like there is people who lean very toxic and don't give a fuck about people who don't know what's going on, and then that's always at the cost of these people who are trying their hardest to be like the ambassador for new players and help organize and make it coherent for them, so it's a struggle as old as time for sure. But it's all about embracing the new,
Yeah, embracing the new and
but having discernment, of course.
Have critical discernment.
No, yeah, but also I think another huge aspect of that is there's so many ways that the game itself is very unwelcoming to new players too. And it's like there's only so much we can do to be welcoming of new people and like holding their hand in. And then some of that goes back on Valve, right?
I think we are entering the era where it's going to be the meaningful good stuff with Team Fortress 2 is going to be very divorced from the app ID of Team Fortress 2 and Steam, if that makes any sense.
Can you elaborate?
Like, it's going to be about the enclaves of community. Like, for example, the discourse is not really going to be about updates anymore. It's going to be about mods. Like, oh, they did the SDK release, and there's going to be all these mods, and these are like churches of Team Fortress 2 that people can go to. Like, oh, the pre-Fortress is for the people who love the beta or whatever. I think that's the direction the Team Fortress 2 discourse is heading. Is like, and I think it's been trying to arrive there for a long time. But I think when you see mods on Steam, you're going to see it finally maybe start materializing. Maybe. I don't know. But
I think so. I think once they become much easier to access, then I think you're going to see an explosion in that direction for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's like Valve's final gambit is like, if you don't like what we did, go make your own,
Which I think that's totally the message that people should be hearing,
Exactly.
It's not evident already. Tell me, with both you guys, your sense of investment in the discourse, right? I think especially for Zesty, but also for Richter. Is there a point in your mind where you just go, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," or is it just kind of, is it engaging to you no matter what? So I mean, like if we paint a picture and we say like, if 5 years pass from now, it's 2030, and essentially nothing has changed about the game, maybe just again like lackluster. Halloween updates
Hats
or something.
And V-script and shit.
Right. Are you still? Do you imagine yourself still having the vitality and horsepower around this kind of issue that you do now? I mean, I know these questions.
It's
are
hard to say because
ridiculous.
I'm very young right now. So it's like how am I going to feel when I'm like 30? I really can't tell you. But I mean, I've had that vitality since 5 years ago. So I don't know why we would stop. I mean, you talked before about like you play in your own little bubble, right? You've got your own community of people you play with, and it's very insular.
When I'm Dr. Heels, find me in the casual pubs. But yes, otherwise very insular.
Yeah, otherwise you stick to your own and you have a community. And you told me it's hard for you to imagine why you would ever stop playing when you have it figured out, to your liking.
Sure.
And I think ultimately, right now, that's all I'm hoping will happen with Team Fortress 2 Gold Rush. I hope it can create a. I'm talking about it like I'm even like I'm working on it. I just know the guy who's making it. And I know he does good work. So that's what I'm hoping is that can be a church for a very stripped back Team Fortress 2 that more closely bears a resemblance to its original substance.
But do you see like? Yeah.
And if that's going strong in 5 years, I think I'll still be playing it. I mean, I'll probably still play live TF2.
Well, maybe not even the playing aspect, but I mean, I'm interested in your predicted passion for this kind of discourse, right?
So
yeah, tell me, Zesty.
So I wouldn't be doing this if I weren't getting tangible results because I'm an adult. Duh. Like, I shouldn't have to say that, but like, I have my life to live. I have my other responsibilities, and I wouldn't be putting as much time into this as I would if I wasn't seeing tangible results. I mean, it's been a very gradational thing where I start bitching about shitty hats and skins, and then, oh, guess what? We start getting better hats and skins. Like, that's a very tangible result of people
you
holding
feel
Valve
hope.
accountable, right? Well, I do. And so, like, that was step one. And then people started bitching at Valve about the bots inundating the game, and then they did something.
Right.
And then people bitched at them about, like, because, like, the I've had, right now, I have the most hope for this game that I have in a decade. Simply because they unmuted free-to-plays. Like, a very simple act like that, because, you know, the bots and bad hats and what have you, that's not really Valve's, you know, that's not like, that's not a switch they pulled, right? But a switch they pulled that's unanimously hated
Definitely is.
was the muting of free-to-plays, and that's them walking back an act they performed and acknowledging that they fucked up, right? And it's
I think that's what's most interesting about your perspective, Zesty, is like you recognize, you look around and you see this island is really fucked up and like there's really not good soil for growing food, but you still have hope. Whereas I think I've been trying to build a raft, and so is Casual. Casual has his own little mini boat he's floating on.
Yeah,
out there
I'm in a boat. I'm just like,
of.
I could be floating forever, but I'm happy that you guys want to talk
I'm
about
in the
it.
process. I'm in the process of trying to build that boat, or at least make sure that the boat I want to exist on can exist. You know?
See, for me, I think the opposite should be happening. I think it's all well and good to have your own spaces to play. That's how the game started, because with, you know, people being able to make their own servers and what have you. But we as the players have so much more power than we lead ourselves on to believe. Like, a lot of people are so complacent or indifferent to the state of the game because they just assume that even if they complain, nothing is going to change, when we have multiple instances in recent history where that's just simply not true, where people band together, even in a small sense, with, you know, getting free-to-plays unmuted. That's people coming together and going, hey, Valve, this sucks, do something.
This is about quick play. You're talking about quick play.
Well, that's something else too, right? That's something I'll talk. We can talk about more so in the future.
Well, I think there is hope for that too. Yeah,
I think so too. But it's just we need people to come together and go, yes, this does suck. Valve, do something,
because they respond to that eventually if it's unanimous and severe enough, basically.
But exactly, right? And so many other game communities do that to the developers, and they make them bend the knee. But people just refuse to do that with TF2, and the only instances have been very recent, right? Like, imagine if people came together in these instances in 2016, like, and then like Valve, what the fuck have you just done? Put it back. No one did that, right? Like, there was no collective call or voice for these things, and that's why I have hope now. Where it's been very haphazard. Like, I mean, the save TF2 and fix TF2 things, those were more organized, but they were just led by a fucking handful of YouTubers saying, hey, on this day, tweet a hashtag, right? Like, that in of itself is incredibly minuscule and mundane.
And not aggressive.
And not even natural, right? Not even like a natural thing. It was very organized and orchestrated, not to diminish it and not to shit on it.
It's the right direction, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's in the right direction and all well and good, but it wasn't like a natural, like, regurgitative, like, oh, fuck, Valve, what have you done? Fix this, you know, where you had like a unanimous, like, large group of people with big voices kind of doing that. And it's like, if we really lean into it and have everyone with voices kind of pushing into this more, we can see some genuine improvements for the game. And even something as small as unmuting free-to-plays gives me hope for that, because that's the first time Valve has done that since 2016. Where they make like a very clear concession of like, okay, we fucked up. We'll undo this. Great. You fucked up. You admitted it. Let's get you to admit to some more shit. Let's pressure them. Right?
I'm so curious, and maybe this is something that you've talked about before on your platforms stuff, but what are kind of the main things that you see that could improve? Like, let's say over the next 5 years, you kind of continue on this path and do manage successfully to like push discourse in certain directions, create movements, get the people saying the types of things you want them to say, and Valve does respond. Like, obviously, I know quick play, but like
that's the biggest
kind of the main
right?
one.
I mean,
yeah,
the main thing, the most important thing people should be focusing on right now is improving TF2's longevity, because this is something that Valve clearly wants, right? Valve clearly wants this game to last an indefinite period of time, because if anyone pays attention, its economy props up all of Valve's other microeconomies. They're not letting this cow die off, right? They're going to milk it for as long as possible. And if we love this game and we want this game to last as long as possible, it must not only attract new players, but retain them. And TF2's current new player experience is probably one of the worst ones on the market right now. Like, imagine you know nothing about TF2, your first exposure is a YouTube video, you come and load yourself into casual mode, and 2 seconds later those fucking metal doors slam in your face because the round ended. It's like, oh, well, you're gonna stick around? Fuck no. The game's free. There's no incentive for you to stay here, right? Fixing that initial player experience, not even like a tutorial or improving that's something that can come second. That's part of this equation as well. But just making that initial player experience even just more like it was prior to 2015, where people have time to actually play the game and engage with the mechanics and feel things out and experience TF2, instead of being dumped into a game that lasts less than 5 minutes and these big metal doors slam in their face saying, bye, that's it for you, bye, go hit the button again. That sucks. Yeah. That must be addressed
For me, I'm really just hoping for more honesty with Valve. Like, if they're going to be done with the game, I want them to be done with the game. I don't want them to use that as an excuse to bloat it with, like, terrible content. Like, if they want to say they're done, I'd rather they just say they're done. If they're going to keep propping it up, I would like for them to actually act like it's something they care about.
They would never be so honorable. I admire your perfect wish.
They'll never be so open.
Yeah.
They'll never be so open. Like, they'll never say they're done with the game, because that would signify,
Well, yeah. They don't want to imply any amount of, stop spending money there. I mean, that's why they would never say that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, even you don't actually own that $10,000 hat. Oh, ooh, that could go away now. Yeah, they'll never say it. I guess do we want to wrap here? I think it's a good place to wrap. Yeah.
I think it's just, it begs that question I asked Casual, in a world that it just spins. It just keeps spinning. It doesn't want you to slow down. What's more important than the things you choose to do with your idle time?
More episodes to come, I'm sure. Of course we'll have to, is this going to be worth our time? Are people going to fucking, it's like 500 views. Fuck it, we're not doing it again. I'm throwing the fucking trash. We're done. But
now we can get
regardless.
Weird.
Yeah. Now we can
get weird.
Now we can just say, fuck it. Yeah, exactly.
Now we can get weird. We'll wrap it there. Thank all of you for watching. We really appreciate it. Links to all these guys' channels will be in the description below. More so plug for TF2 Gold Rush. Links to that will also be in the description. That awesome mod is currently underway. Additionally, if you want more from me, join my announcements Discord linked in the description below. You can't talk in there, but you get notifications for when I go live, for when I have uploads, and when there will be more episodes of this lovely, lovely podcast. Gentlemen, closing thoughts.
It's been a pleasure.
Casual, would you like to go first?
Yeah. I look forward to more. I'm just getting started. I'm like, dude, I need brew me an espresso. Like, let's get to the real stuff. So I'm enjoying. Yeah,
I'm just hoping this leads to productive discourse and insights. I hope that obviously the pilot can't be too crazy. But I'm hoping to really get at these two's brains and get them cracking them open and talk about the stuff that people don't talk about. Talk about the more real elements of all of this, if that makes any sense. I only hope I wasn't too obviously the youngest one in the room. So
no, I don't think you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about that at all. I think you're fine.
By no means, until the 2010 meme references come out, and then maybe we'll see.
Okay.
So we start talking about watching Deadmau5 on Ustream, then might change.
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
Well, anyway, you want to wrap it there?
Yeah, we'll wrap it there. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.